In this video, I'm going to show you how to deliver your ads, your content that you do for your client completely professionally without any mistakes happening. Now, most of the creators, they know how to create unbelievably good videos, ads, or whatever the project is for the client. But what they lack is the systems behind it, how to deliver it professionally so that the client actually comes back next time again and so that he actually can recommend you to someone else. So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how my process looks like, how my delivery looks like, and how I fulfill client projects. Here, I already have an example ready that I will show you in this video. But before we get to that, we will start with the first thing which on our agenda, which is the client itself. So what is the first thing that happens after the client has come to you? You obviously have closed him, and the first thing that happens here is he signs an agreement. After he has signed an agreement, what comes next is obviously an invoice. But how does that look in between? So the first things that usually happen when the client signs the contract, he expects from you immediate action. Now, immediate action could be obviously sending him an invoice. So after he pays, you get into the systems. But what you can do in between is you can already prepare some documents that you can send him together with the invoice. And I'm going to show you now what exactly I mean. Now, after the sale, obviously, what you need to do is you need to book an onboarding call. Now, you have signed an agreement, you have sent him an invoice. Now, in that email, let's say you put in an invoice inside and you put a document, which could be a welcome document. In that welcome document, the client has a link where he can book an onboarding call immediately. Now, you have to have a specific link for an onboarding call separate from your normal link. It's just professionally, in my opinion. You always want to book an onboarding call immediately after the purchase, immediately 24 hours, like max 24 hours. You don't want to wait longer than, let's say, 48 hours. The best time is 24 hours. And after you have booked the onboarding call with the client, you will obviously go through everything with him, but you need to prepare your client hub. In our case, this is my client hub that I use for some projects. This is a very small project that I will be showing you here. And this is how I actually deliver, how I work and communicate with my client. There are some other hubs I can show you too. For example, we have this one. This is a little more complex. It all depends based on the project. By the way, I will be sharing this template in the description down below so you can get it for yourself. And right now here, you can pretty much decide whatever you want to have in this template. For example, ideas, mood board, storyboard, shot list, creative brief, brand inputs, and so on and so forth. If you go into the storyboards, we have the phase one, which is character development, product sheets, character sheets, location. Then we have the shots, the specific shots. Then we have the video production. You can really choose all between whatever you need. And at the end of the day, it's just a preference thing. Now, the next thing you can do for your client is you can record a short video or basically even say it in the start of the onboarding call why choosing you was the best decision he could actually make. This is just for buyers to reinforce the decision so that he doesn't think, did I make a good decision or did I make a bad decision? You're already showing him that you care about him. You're already showing him that you're a little bit different and you're actually going to get the work done. Now, when he books the onboarding call, now, once again, you signed an agreement, you sent him the invoice, and with that email where was invoice inside of it, you also send a link to the onboarding call, obviously. And inside of the onboarding call, you are going to go through these steps that I'm going to show you now. Now, first things first, you got to set expectations up front. Now, what I mean is by that is a lot of clients don't know how you work, how you do your delivery, and so on and so forth, especially if they hop from freelancer to freelancer, from agency to agency. Everybody works differently. So you got to make sure he understands how you work. So that's one thing that you need to explain to him. The phases, the stations that you have inside of the project, like the whole complete timeline and everything. For example, asset collection, character development, storyboard, script, video production, delivery, and review. That's everything visible inside Milanote. This is the Milanote, the tool I'm not sure some of you are familiar with, some not, but this is a great tool that you can actually use this type of work. The next thing, what you need is you need to tell him when you are going to have calls. And whether that's going to be at the end of the week, whether that's going to be once a month, it doesn't really matter. It needs to be set in place though, so that he actually knows when to expect them. Also, he needs to know when to expect the results. You need to have a deadline that you know you can actually fulfill. I always tell my people to, if you have, let's say, a project, you know it's going to take 2 weeks, say it's going to take 4 weeks. Why? Because even if you deliver in 2 weeks, you over delivered. Pretty much you delivered before the deadline, which also makes you look professional, and which is also better for the client because he knows you're much faster in this case. Next thing that is necessary, we need to tell the clients that we have a testing phase where we first test the angles, the formats, the hooks, the videos, and everything before we actually decide what we're going to fix, before we actually decide what we're going to choose on and actually lock. For example, if I'm developing a character sheet, we need to test few character sheets before the client says, okay, this is the one that I like, and we're gonna lock in that one. As soon as the client locks in something, you move on to the next thing. Do not allow a client. I had a problem once where a client wanted to, at the end of the video, to change the character sheet after we locked pretty much the storyboard, the voice, the script, the character sheets, literally anything. He wanted to change the character, and I just told him, look, character sheets are locked a long time ago, and we cannot change them unless you gotta pay more, because otherwise it's just gonna take up too much time for both of us, and it's not just not how it works. So you gotta make sure you communicate correctly with your clients, and I learned that from my own mistake. Now, inside of the onboarding call, we have three elements: strategic, technical, and communication. Now, strategic one is obviously, why are we here, what are our goals, what are we trying to achieve, the milestones and everything. Also, what are potential obstacles that could come along the way, and how do we overcome them, and which methods are we going to choose first, or what are we going to try and test and develop first. You also need to let your client speak what he wants. Unless it is something that doesn't make sense, that's when you then have to pretty much tell him, look, that's not how it's going to work, the better way is this way. But usually, most of the clients that come to you obviously know what they want and know approximately how it works, right? Now, the second element is technical. We have to understand, or we have to communicate to the client where, for example, we will be having the project that he can track on, in our case, Milanote, and all other AI tools that we are using. Also, for example, if your client pays for your credits, then there is no account setup. But if you expect your client to provide you a Hicksfield account, for example, you need to, get over the login data and everything so that you can work in peace all the time, and so you don't have to wait every time for the email, for the login, for the code, and so on and so forth. That just makes you look very unprofessional. The next point we need to address is, how do we share data, info, files, and everything, and where is everything set up? Once again, inside of Milanote. That's why I like Milanote. You can set up pretty much everything inside of there, and it's just one tool. You don't have to have ClickUp, Notion, this and that, and switch behind three different tools, and then the client gets just confused and he's not even sure where what is actually. And the element is communication. Very important. You need to understand how you're going to communicate and where you're going to communicate with your clients. Most of my clients, we communicate over WhatsApp. It's just how people in Austria, Germany, and Switzerland use mostly WhatsApp. Some of them also Slack. You got to offer both of these options. Maybe even someone wants Microsoft Teams. It just really depends. But I've personally used mostly WhatsApp, and that's what I also recommend, because you can just send a voice memo, you can chat, you can call, no matter what. You have it always by yourself, since it's on phone, it's on laptop, it doesn't even matter. Also, you need to tell him when you are available. Is it 5 times a week? Is it 7 times a week? Is it 24/7? Like, the client needs to know when he can reach you, when you are available for him. And also, when you post updates, he needs to be notified, right? If you update something, if you finish something and you upload it to Mila, you immediately have to tell him, look, I uploaded, give me feedback so we can move on. As fast as that goes, the better for you, because if you finish something, you upload it, he gives you feedback, you can continue. But if you wait until he sees it, and if you wait until he gives you feedback, or if he even forgets, you're just gonna drag the project way too long, and maybe across the deadline that you even set. So you got to be careful about that. And one very important rule that I have in my terms and conditions is, if the client does not respond in, let's say, 5 or 7 days, or even 24 hours, 48 hours, depends however you work, I continue myself based on my own opinion, because we cannot be waiting here a week for a client to, approve a character sheet. That's just not how it works. If it's a smaller project, if it's something bigger that involves a lot of decisions, that's obviously something else. But you always need to have this in your contract, especially in your terms and conditions, because you are safe here. If you have to wait 5 days for a simple approval of a character sheet that you could have just approved yourself, literally inside of 30 minutes, then That's why we can choose and decide on ourselves, on our own, basically. The fourth thing that we're going to talk about is the setup phase. So obviously, after onboarding, the project usually starts. The kickoff call is what comes after that. And how does that all work? Like, how do you gather some stuff from your client? How do you know what you need, stuff, and so on and so forth? So first things first is obviously depends on type of a project you're working. But let's say you're developing a video, like in our case, we developed here a simple video for this Austrian brand. It's just a protein brand. They have their own box and they sell. They have multiple tastes like vanilla, bomber, chocolate, and so on and so forth, right? And we have decided to focus on these three tastes. Now, how do you know what you actually need from your client? Now, obviously, it is very important that you understand where this is going, that you understand what clients want. He would usually provide you an idea or tell you a story or a script, maybe in some cases, that you can work off on. Now, the first thing you're going to need is obviously the product itself. If you're creating an ad for something, you'll need a brand input, which is, for example, this is what we got from the client. He provided us a simple front package labeling that we use. Then he also provided us a whole like package labeling, even from the sides, from the top, from the bottom, from the front, from the back. And he also provided these shots that are like, a final dose, final Tetra Pak, how it looks like. As you can see, it's kind of curved a little bit here, curved a little bit more here, so that just we know how to develop these characters. Now, after that, also, you can even ask for a logo. You can ask for their colors if they use specific, colors, if they use specific fonts. You need to communicate everything with your clients. If they say that it doesn't really matter what font it is, what color it is, as long as it's, matching the product vibes, then it's not necessary. These here are the old ads that they gave me, that somebody made them, and you can see already that it looks completely different when you compare these two packagings, especially this one. This is a completely new drink, and that's why they decided to work with me, because this is how I work, where I pretty much, after I have collected these product sheets, after I have collected these product images and inputs from them, I then develop product sheets of each product itself so that I know how it looks like. And then I turn these product sheets into a character sheets of specific character. In our case, for example, we have vanilla here. As you can see, front, back, left side, right side, close up, arms and legs, front again, and action shot. Same for chocolate and same for Schwedenbombe. And that's how we pretty much develop these characters, right? And after we have developed them, if the client agrees and says, look, I like them all right, perfect. What we then do is we lock them and move on to the next. Now, obviously, before you get even this far, you have to finish off with your kickoff call, where inside of the kickoff call, you pretty much, have your milestones that you decided together with the client. You confirm the first production cycle, what gets produced first, what gets produced second, when is the first delivery, and so on and so forth. And everything is pretty much inside of the kickoff call. Now, this is a separate call compared to the onboarding call. In the onboarding call, you onboard the client, you tell them how it's going to work, how you're going to communicate, and so on and so forth. You exchange the details, he pays you the money, you send him the welcome document, you send him the agreement, and so on and so forth. And then in the onboarding call, you book a small 15-minute kickoff call where you then discuss the most important stuff about the project. As I've told you already what it is, I will even share this document once again for you guys, so you can actually, download it and then see how this works. But you obviously have everything inside of the kickoff call, what was agreed, the missing assets, the delivery date, and so on and so forth. And that's where you also create your creative brief. And after you have your creative brief, you can upload that inside of your client hub or even send it directly to the client. After the client brief, you start the production, because everything is set in place. You know how the characters look like, you know how the story looks like, you know pretty much everything, because in the kickoff call, you talk about the video that you're going to make for him. You decide if it's going to have a voiceover, you decide the location, you decide the character look, you decide the fonts, the colors, you decide pretty much everything with him. And you have your own script that you can work off. And based on that, you can start developing step by step characters, videos, locations, and so on and so forth. And this is how it looked for my client. I already showed you this. After we have locked the characters from the products, then we developed some two extra characters, which was a young lady and a grandma, that are also going to be in the video. And after that, everything was locked. He told me, perfect, you can move on. Then we moved on to the location. Now here we have two locations. One was in the middle of the street and one was in the gym. I can show you here the second one. This is the gym. Now this is a simple, just 4-frame shot where I just approximately know where this everything is going to be happening. As you can see here, we have here the zebra, we have the fitness, the gym, we have the crosswalk, and we have the Ampel. This is called in German. I'm not sure how it's called in English right now. And after that, we obviously have our script here next to us. But after that, we move on to the storyboard. Now, how does the storyboard work? If the client confirmed the location, if he's happy with it, and he confirmed the characters, now what you do is you generate a simple demo storyboard that you actually show him, which is you go in AI and you just write a simple prompt where you put in your script, and you ask Claude just to generate your prompt for a storyboard. And this is something that you're gonna get. In our case, it was a grandma. She wanted to go across the zebra, but she was scared. In that moment, these three mookies appeared to help her cross the road. One of them, Chocolate, stopped the cars. Then she patted one on the head as they helped her cross. And after that, they went inside the gym, and she went on to do her own business. Now, this is not what we're going to use to animate. This is just for storyboard purposes, so the client approximately knows how this is going to look. Now, the magic happens here when it comes to these shots. Now, this is where we take these shots and shot by shot and actually turn them into a very good quality shots that we can then animate. As you can see, this is a big difference here between this shot and this shot. This makes a lot of sense because she's here at the crosswalk waiting to cross over, but she's scared. In this moment, Mookies appear to help her. Then we have the Shoko jumping in the middle, stopping the cars. Then they walk her over. She pats them, and they walk off into the gym while she is waving to them. This is how the project looks. Now, how this was developed is I pretty much started shot by shot. I developed all the shots and asked for feedback. And he told me immediately shot 1 and shot 3 and shot 6 are good. We need to fix shot 2, 4, and 5. That's what I did. I then went back to AI and then fixed it. I even put then multiple versions here so that he can then choose at the end which one he likes. And after he confirms each of these shots, there's no going back because he confirmed everything step by step. Then all you have to do is make a video. And if he is even not happy with the video, you can go back and tell him, look, you confirmed these shots. There shouldn't be a problem mostly. This is for a second scene. They walk into the fitness gym. Here they can see this lady struggling with the weights. This is their face expressions. And now we have a close-up shot of the woman struggling with the weights. Then they come and help her lift the weights. She revealed in this shot, and the shot 7 is, and this one's missing. They take a selfie with them, or she takes a selfie with them. Now, after everything is generated, what we do is we take the shots, go to the Higgs field, Playtor, or whatever tool you use, and animate them one by one and paste it together to actually get the final output. Now, in this case, I will show you something. This is a full workflow I used here for the whole client project, as you can see. And I didn't use Higgsfield for this one. I decided to go with Playtor. Playtor is a very good tool that you can use for these type of projects. And as you can see here, I have everything pretty much, like from the character sheets, from the product to the character sheets, then like the locations, the storyboards, and each specific shot that we actually made and how we animated them. Now, I want to share this workflow with you too. I'll be sharing that down below in the description if you want to try it and test it for yourself. And how this worked is pretty simple. I had each prompt for each shot, and after I have decided which shots I'm going to go with, then what I did, I connected all shots into the reference images. So that means you don't have to animate it one by one. Then I had my own prompt that knew exactly how these shots are called. You gotta rename them. You gotta be specific here if you want this to work like as fast as possible. And then we have here our long prompt where you can see the reference images shot 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, we had 2, 4 shots, 5 and 6. And then obviously what happens between shot 1 and shot 5. After that is finished, you animate it. And this is, for example, what you get immediately. Now, some of these shots are not working or not good. You can then crop some out, you can leave some, but if nothing is good, then you can generate it again. All you have to do is adjust your prompt. For example, this one was much better, but this is completely a wrong shot. This is great, for example. This is also great. She pats him, and then there they are. She waves him, and then they go. This is perfect shot. Like, here was almost everything perfect except this shot right here, which means we had to generate one more time, and this was the shot we ended up doing at the end then. And this is the only shot. And then all we did is put it together. We put it then back to Milanote, and we uploaded the final version, and the client approved it, liked it, paid for it. That's it. What I mean by paid for it, he paid 50% upfront, 50% at the end. So this project is already done. This here is just another video missing. I'm not sure why it's not in here, but it's the same with this workflow. And as you can see, That's how it works. Now, obviously, you have your own type of work, you have your own process, the way you develop videos, the way you create them. Everybody's different. You don't have to follow along like mine systems. This is just a simple system that I built actually for this client. You even saw the video is nothing special, nothing too fancy, nothing crazy, because the client wanted a simple video, and also he paid the price for it, which was around 1,500 euros for this specific animation. And obviously, if you wanted something more, crazy, more dynamic, more, I don't know, complex, obviously it will cost more. But this is what you get for 1,500 euros. And you can even have this workflow yourself. You can test that out. You can see if that actually maybe helps you with your next client project. You can let me know down below in the comments. And I hope I covered everything in this video. I hope everything was clear enough. I try to keep it as concise and as simple as possible for you guys to follow along, especially for the ones that never actually delivered the project. This is more on the simpler side. We also have more complex projects, but that's a video for itself because it will last even longer. And all in all, I enjoyed creating this video for you. If you also enjoyed watching this video and if you learned something new, make sure to drop a like, to subscribe to my channel, and also you can join my free community where I share all the templates for free completely. Nothing is gated. You can test everything yourself and see if it works or not. I will also be sharing this template too, and the other template that I have for the Mila. Then you can just take this one and delete all this stuff and use it for your own project. I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.